Hello everyone, this is Caitlin and you are watching Zombie Eats Books. So I haven't done a book haul in a super long time, it's been months, but that doesn't mean that I haven't been buying books because I have. I just haven't had a lot of time to read them. So I want to get through a whole lot of books. I'm going to try to do it in just a couple of videos and let you know what I've been interested in reading at least. So let's get started. So the first 4 books that I'm going to show you are from a small publishing company called And Other Stories. I have a subscription with them for 4 books per year. You can get 6 books per year if you'd like, or even 2 books per year. The 4 books that I got from them this year, or this past year, 2016, were The Old King in His Exile by Arno Geiger. This is translated from the German, and it is translated by Stephen Tobler. So this is a memoir about Geiger's father who develops Alzheimer's, and it looks pretty interesting. It says that it's kind of funny, and yeah, excited to read this one. So the next book I got was Tristing by Emmanuel Pagano, and this is translated by Jennifer Higgins and Sophie Lewis from French, I believe. I believe she's a French writer. So I'm not really sure what this one is all about, but I know that it revolves around the theme of love. So this next one is called The Leopard, and it's by Giuseppe di Lampedusa, and this one is translated from the Italian by Archibald Calhoun. This one is about a Sicilian prince in the 1860s, and I think it focuses on sort of the decadence of his life, but also what's going on politically during that time. Okay, and this last one from And Other Stories is called Black Wave. It's by Michelle Tea, and this is the only one that isn't translated fiction. It's about a girl growing up in 1999 in San Francisco, and she has a van load of bad habits, and I guess the world is ending and people are committing suicide all over, and she's contemplating dating Matt Dillon. So this one sounds pretty fun. Another one that I picked up is The Pearl and the Red Pony by Steinbeck. Steinbeck is an author that I've read before, but I just haven't read enough of, so I'd like to read more of his work. And I'm a little late to the game on this one. I also picked up Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. This one, I believe, is about him writing to his son about race in America, and I thought it just sounded really powerful and interesting and important, and I wanted to read it. This next book I have heard so much about on YouTube. It is The Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss. It was actually in the top 10 of a lot of top 10 videos that I watched, so I figured that was an indication to me that I needed to buy it and try it. So I think this is about a family and a death, and it's a story that revolves around this death and this family. So it sounded really great. Everybody seems to love it. So I say so too much. I'm like so. So this next one is called The People of Forever Are Not Afraid by Shani Boy-Anjou, and it is about 3 young women that grow up in an Israeli village, and they are conscripted into the army, and I believe it's about how their lives change, and yeah, it just sounded really interesting. Also picked up State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. So this is a book that I was inspired to pick up after reading Lily King's Euphoria. I just wanted to read a book that was similar in setting, and this one seems like it might have similar settings and characters. So this is about a doctor that has to go into the Amazon because her mentor, who is a researcher, gets lost in the Amazon and isn't heard from, and so she goes in to try to find her, or him. I guess I don't know if her mentor is a man or a woman, but it just reminded me of Euphoria, and I'm hoping that it gives me the same feels. I also picked up a book called The Wake by Paul Kingsnorth. I've been wanting to read this one for so long, but I just haven't had the time, and I know it's going to really take a lot of concentration to read this one because it is written in what the author calls Shadow Tongue, which is an updated version of Old English. It's about a group of Englishmen who are sort of rising up against William the Conqueror and the Norman occupiers during, that time after 1066. So it sounds really interesting. Let me show you what the text looks like. So yeah, that's going to take some concentration. Next book I picked up is Last Night in Montreal by Emily St. John Mandel. I read Station 11 and I loved it, so I wanted to try more of her work. This one, I believe, is about a young woman who sort of skips from town to town and doesn't really make lasting relationships with people, and I think the reason for that is sort of unraveled throughout the book, and it revolves around a crime of some sort, something like that. Sounded really good. So next I also picked up a book by Guy de Maupassant. This is A Parisian Affair, and it's a collection of his short stories. I read earlier in 2016 a book of his called Bellamy, and I loved it. He is so cynical and he really gets into the underbelly of Paris, and I just wanted to read some of his short stories and see if I love them just as much as that book. Also picked up The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. Haruki Murakami, I have sort of good experiences with his work and bad experiences, or mediocre, I guess you could say. So I read After Dark and I thought it was mediocre, and then I read Hard-Boiled Wonderland and The End of the World and I loved it. The only criticism that I had of that book was the depiction of women. So I thought that I would give him another try, and I hope that that was just a fluke and that the depiction of women in this book is not so terrible as Hard-Boiled Wonderland, but we'll see. I think he's really a fantastic writer. He's so creative, at least Hard-Boiled Wonderland was, so I'm really looking forward to reading more of his work. Also picked up The Truth About the Harry Quebert Affair by Joel Dicker, and this is a book that I heard about on Brandy's channel. Her channel name is called Moriarty and Her Books, and this is translated from the French, I believe, by Sam Taylor. Basically, Brandy really loves mysteries, and she said that this was a fantastic one, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And I also basically got pressured into buying this book by all the people on BookTube that have read it. It's called Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind, and this is translated from the German by John E. Woods. So I saw the movie of this, and it's a pretty creepy movie, but it was beautifully done, and I wanted to read the book and compare. So I also picked up some Little Black Penguin classics, the first of which is The Saga of Gunnlaug Serpent-Tongue, and this one is by a nun. It's translated by Katrina C. Atwood. This one I wanted to read because I've become more interested in history, and I've been wanting to read a book called The Sea Wolves about the Vikings, and I thought that this might be a good companion. I also picked up How to Be a Medieval Woman by Margery Kempe. Margery Kempe was born in the 1300s, the late 1300s, and she was illiterate. She couldn't read or write, so she had other people write her autobiography, which is what this is. Let me see who translated it. B.A. Windiot. So she was apparently a really unconventional woman and very outspoken and witty, and it just sounded really fascinating, so I thought I'd pick it up. And then I also picked up Antigone by Sophocles. No real particular reason for picking this one up, but I guess I had to buy them in threes or something. So, on to some short fiction collections. Short fiction really works for me while I'm in school because I can just read a story and then put a book down rather than getting drawn into it and not studying like I'm supposed to be. So I picked up a few of those. The first one is Civil War Land in Bad Decline. This is by George Saunders. George Saunders is somebody that I haven't read yet and I've heard a lot about, and this seemed like a pretty interesting collection. It is a collection of short stories, I think about 6, and then also a novella. I also picked up The Assassination of Margaret Thatcher by Hilary Mantel. Hilary Mantel is an author that I've read before and really enjoyed. I read the first book in her Thomas Cromwell series and loved that book. It's not for everybody, but I think it's a fantastic book, so I wanted to try some of her short fiction. I also picked up a collection called Crick Crack by Edwidge Danticat, and this is about Haitian families both in Haiti and in the United States. I've never read about Haitian culture before, so I thought this would be an interesting one to read. So I also picked up Pretty Monsters by Kelly Link. This is a collection of short stories that sort of borders between magical realism and then straight up fantasy, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It is not very creepy. I was hoping it'd be creepy. I don't know why. I think maybe I was just looking at the cover and I thought it might be creepy, but it's not. It's okay. I've never read Kelly Link before, and I'm really glad that I did because I'm enjoying these so far. Okay, I also picked up There Once Lived a Woman Who Tried to Kill Her Neighbor's Baby, and this is Scary Fairy Tales by Ludmila Petrushevskia. I think I got that right, maybe. So this one is translated by Keith Gesson and Anna Summers, and it just seems really interesting. Scary Fairy Tales sounds awesome. I like creepy books if you haven't figured that out. And I was reading reviews of this online, and it's gotten really great reviews, so I thought I'd try it out. Yeah, so I think those are all the books that I want to get through in this video, and then in the next one it's going to be strictly science fiction and fantasy. Yeah, I've collected a lot of those over the last few months because I've been really into escapism lately, just because, you know, I have to study all the time and that's no fun. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these and if I should get to any of these sooner rather than later. Probably only going to get to the really short ones or the short story collections in the next few months, and then after that I'll be able to read and concentrate on like full-length novels, hopefully. So, yeah. Bye-bye. See you next time.